Hello and welcome to the Conor Canney Podcast with me, Conor Canney. And in this podcast, I want to talk about the idea of making life a lifestyle. What do I mean by that? Well, as I said in last week's podcast, I like to think of life as breaking life down into eight different sections of our life, and kind of generally thinking of life thinking of those eight different sections as different parts of our life that affect every other part of our life. So oftentimes in the society we live in, we kind of think of our life as like work, whatever job we have, and then everything else around that. And it's like, in some respects, that is what I'm saying to do, in the sense that I am saying think of life like in different sections, and in some respects, even when we think of life, like many people think of life as like their job and then their social life. And then when they exercise or go to the gym or whatever, or they do different things, or they eat, it's like, yes, we do think of life like as different sections that affect their life, but we don't really do it like oftentimes we don't like look a bit deeper and actually really like think of like, no, each section of our life massively affects every other section of our life. And it's like, the most profound truths are the simplest ones, right? So like, if we're not exercising, right, we're going to feel like shit. That's going to affect every other part of our life, you know? And if we're not meditating, that's going to affect every other part of our life, right? It's like, we need to like, well, as I say, no one needs to do anything, and I'm not here to tell anyone what the fuck to do with their life. Who am I to say that? But since you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that you're interested in it, and you're not just here to criticize and go, oh, but who are you to say that, right? I'm just here to like point out some things which I know have helped me in life, and that I know have helped other people, and that help us to create a life of satisfaction, fulfillment, and essentially happiness, right, in the short, medium, and long term. And it's like, we should be thinking of life. I like the idea of thinking of life, as I say, as a lifestyle, in the sense that when we get up in the morning, it's like, we should have like, think of life as habits and rituals. And it should be like, we should really want to do the things that we spend our time doing. We should actually set up a life we really like and enjoy, like, and consciously do it, and not feel like life is happening to us, you know? And of course, sometimes it does feel like life is happening to us, but we can change that at any moment. We can, start to consciously create our own future. As I say, heal from the past. Think of, in one respect, one of the ways I like to think of life is healing from the past, creating our future, and learning to enjoy the present. And more specifically, when I say creating our future, creating a future we would like to live in, right? Which is the only way, when that future comes around, which will then be the present moment, it's the only way we'll actually be able to enjoy it, rather than thinking like, oh, excuse me, I just did a little burp. Thinking, oh no, this is happening to me, I've been there many times in my life, feeling like life is happening to me, even this week, the reason I've been putting off this podcast is because I was a bit, I was having a bit of anxiety. I was a bit depressed. I was like, podcast is gonna, I'll record it on Thursday, and I was like, I'll record it on Friday. Never got fucking around to it, so I forced myself to do it this morning, on Saturday, right? And but sometimes we can fall into these slumps. I know I certainly can, right? And it feels like we're at the effect of everything around us, whereas it's like we should take responsibility for our life. We should recognize that we are the creators of our own destiny in many respects. Now, there's another philosophical, deeper question, like, as to, does everything happen for a reason? Is there a God? Is the universe happening? Like we're not, like, things happen that are out of our control. Some things are fate, right? But we'll go into that that's for other podcasts, right? But the sentiment I'm expressing right now is that in some respects we are like causing much of our own suffering, right, by not taking actions that would minimize that suffering and would in fact help us to create a feeling of joy and satisfaction and peace and fulfillment within us, right? And the 8 sections that I talk about are unconventional wisdom, parent-child relations, let's get social, move your body, feed your body, relax your body, feed your mind, motivation. And if we think of life in these, we could break life down into these 8 sections and recognize they're all part, as I say, as I'm going to keep reaffirming, of the same life, and make them a lifestyle and enjoy it and want to create our own life and embrace this life that we have, right? And consciously take responsibility for each of these 8 sections within our life. So what is unconventional wisdom? Well, there's a bunch of like unconventional wisdom and knowledge, like to do with our own human psychology, human emotions, spirituality, physicality, business, money, a bunch of stuff, right? And a bunch of unconventional like knowledge that we can engage in and we can study on YouTube and by listening to podcasts and reading books, and as I say, I'm going to go more into the more specifics of this in other podcasts, but for now I want to go over the other stuff. So I kind of briefly talk about the unconventional wisdom, and then I kind of like go past it, but just to make people like consciously aware of, what kind of, many of you listening know what kind of things I'm talking about when I talk about understanding like the ego, the human mind, our own psychology, opening our mind to different philosophies and ideas that you can find on like the Joe Rogan Experience. It's like and when the way I'm talking about when I talk about this section of life and I break life down into this section, it's kind of like I'm saying take action, take actions which are and have it like a ritual, either with yourself or other people, one day a week or every day, or however you want to do it, which is like time where you consciously get in touch with your inner child. Or as I said, an example would be like also getting in touch with, like as I said last week, creativity, that part of us as human beings, which is creative. We are all creative beings. And as I said before, we are, like some of us are kind of more creative in some respects than others, in the sense of like some of us are naturally more musical or interested in, or wired to be interested in writing or photography or filming or acting or comedy or music or songwriting or singing or playing an instrument, or the list goes on, all the main things you think of when you think of the arts and creativity. And then some of us are more like into other stuff that's not so classically creative like that. But regardless of where we fall on the spectrum individually and personally, with relation to how much we enjoy or how naturally creative we are, in that sense, all of us as human beings have a capacity to create, and we are all creative beings, and we all have parts of our brain and our body, our physiology, our emotions and our spirit, but certainly parts of the human brain which really, like, when we get in touch with and engage in creative activities, it's like we're getting in touch with a certain part of our brain which we enjoy as a human being when we do this. The way it makes us feel, right? It's like it's stimulating a part of our mind, of our brain, that we and as I say, the mind, the body, the spirit, and emotions, the four quadrants, if you like, of what it means to be a human being, are inextricably linked. So not only are we getting in touch with this part in our brain and creating happy chemicals and like expanding our mind and getting in touch with that part of us, it's like we're also doing that with the rest, with it physiologically affects us, right? It's like, as human beings, if we're not doing something creative, at least once a week. Listen, as I say, some people, and I'm not telling anyone what to do whatever the fuck you want in your life. Who the fuck am I to say what to do, what not to do? But I'd recommend that everyone at least once a week get in touch with this stuff. And as what was I going to say just now? Sorry, it's ADHD, off on tangents and stuff. As I was saying, some of us are more inclined to have creativity being like creative activities like writing or photography or music or singing, like as part of our everyday life. It's a huge part of our life. But even people that aren't like that interested in it or that naturally into it, and you don't even need to be the most skilled at these things, it's just like the idea is, at least once a week, I'd recommend getting in touch with something, with something like creative writing, or have a day of the week for like a couple of hours where you, even an hour, even 45 minutes, even half an hour, right? Even 20 minutes, but at least 20 minutes a week, but preferably a bit more. I'd recommend getting in touch with engage in some kind of creative activity like drawing or painting. And as I say, you don't need to be the most skilled drawer or painter. It's not about that. It's about getting in touch with you. We're missing out. You're missing out if you're not creating a little bit as a human being, right? Even if it's like fucking finger painting like kids do. Like, do something. You'll enjoy it, right? You'll enjoy it. Okay. Now, what's another section of our life another way we can think, another section we can break our life down into? Parent-child relations. Why is this so important? And what do I mean by this? Well, all of us, no matter who we are, no matter how encouraging and supportive and wonderful our parents were, or how unencouraging and unsupportive they were, or wherever we fall on the spectrum, and that's all and as I say all the time, no disrespect to anyone's parents. I'm not being rude or horrible to anyone, and everyone's parents is part of this society, and we've all been conditioned, and we've all had our own issues. Our parents had their issues from our grandparents and their grandparents, their parents, our great grandparents, and etc., generation after generation. None of us are perfect, right? We're all unconscious of our behavior. Like, there's no one black and white way to parent any kid, and it's like, my point is like, no matter what background we came from, even some of us didn't have parents growing up, some of us were in care, some of us were adopted, some of us had like a single parent, a mother or a father, some of us were whatever, some of our parents died. We've all got our own unique history with our parents, right? But the point is, we've all got some form of childhood trauma to a lesser or greater degree, and some kind of limiting beliefs our parents might have given us, and even if we have really, really supportive parents. And my mum, from like the age of 23, my mum started becoming like really, really supportive to me. Not that she wasn't before when I was growing up, but she, not like the way she's been the last 5 years. And even someone like me who's got a really supportive mother, it's like, even in my 20s, at 29, it's like, there's still like issues. No disrespect to her or anything, but like, all of us, we all have issues from our parents. We can't help it. It's not a question of, do I have issues? No, motherfucker, we all have issues. Every single one of us. Right? It's like, and we need to become consciously aware of, first of all, of the fact that we all have some form of issues from our parents, or family in general, actually, like from our childhood, teenagehood, and adulthood growing up, and to recognize, to find some form of being able to heal from that and process those emotions, become consciously aware of what they are, and figure out, what kind of relationship did I have with my parents, and how's that affected me, and how's that affect my relationships with friends and lovers and other family and work colleagues and life, and my relationship with myself and the way I think about myself, etc. And that can be, that the way we do that varies. You could go to a therapist, which I do, and talk about it. That's probably the best option. I say it's the best option. Everyone's different, and you have to figure out what works for you. But I think that's certainly a very good thing for everyone to consider doing, and I think everyone can benefit from going through a therapist. Now, you could also, speak and start thinking about this stuff to yourself and record a podcast. And even if you don't want to upload it, just record it for yourself. Just the process of speaking in and of itself and talking can help with becoming consciously aware of the way we feel and the way our parents made us feel, and any issues we have from childhood, and any limiting beliefs we have, and get it off our chest. Cry, laugh, process the emotions, speak, get it out of your subconscious, and be like, that trauma's not within me anymore as much, right? Writing in a journal, that's a form of therapy, and then then the next part of parent-child relations is asking ourselves what kind of relationship we currently have with our parents as adults or guardian, if we have any kind of relationship, or what it's like. And then can we, what kind of relationship would we like to have with them? Is it a relationship, or do we have a healthy relationship that is fulfilling, that we enjoy? And are we able to have any kind of relationship with them? And what steps do we need to take to communicating that with our parents, to try to, and or family, extended family, to try to have good relationships with our parents as adults? And now, if we can't do that, and you haven't got very healthy relationships with them, or they're not here anymore, or whatever the situation happens to be personally, what kind of relationships can we, even as adults, cultivate and build with other people who could be older role models, parent-like figures? And even if we do have a healthy relationship with our parents, right? I actually have a pretty damn healthy relationship with both my mum and my dad. and my dad does. Very surprising considering we had a very, very unhealthy relationship for pretty much from when I was about 7 to almost 29, right? Even though there was some good stuff going on between us, but still. Even though I have a very healthy relationship now with my mum and my dad and both sides of my family, I still, the thing is, I feel like, because our families are so emotionally connected to us, you know, it's important to cultivate and build relationships with other people who are older than us, like male and female, older than us, father figures and mother figures, and you don't even need to necessarily think of them as father figures and mother figures, although you will probably be more inclined to think and will feel more like that if you have a very unhealthy relationship with your parents or a parent or no relationship with them whatsoever, right? But I think it's important to build like a healthy relationship with other people, and also, you know, get encouragement from them and have a positive bond with them, because as I say, we can't always rely on our parents or our family to do that. And when we don't have a healthy relationship with other people, I find with older people that are almost like elders of the tribe, if you like, if we were living in tribal days, it's like we suffer. And when we do have healthy relationships with people, and like say like me as a man having another man who I know who's my friend's dad / my parents' friend, and he's kind of my mentor as well, and I see him like once a month and occasionally text him or speak to him on the phone. It's like having a healthy relationship with a male role model, as a man who's older, who's like a father figure, even though I have my own father, is very beneficial. And as I say, you know, all of us, the relationships we have with our parents are kind of like a bit biased, you know, like they have their own like biases. We might want to talk about other things with our older men and women that are like parents, but we don't want to speak to our family about it, if you know what I mean. Right, same thing with therapy, of course, but I'm talking specifically about like more like mentorship, or just even help, even not even necessarily mentors, but, you know, as I say, older male and female people, right? And then if we want to have children, think about, if we do have children, and now some people will say, oh, who the fuck am I to say how to raise your children? You're not even a parent, Connor, and even if you were a parent, who would you be to say that? And I understand that perspective, but it's kind of like one of those things. Like all of this stuff, it's kind of like, even though I say there's not really a formula for fulfillment that everyone can follow, it's like at the same time there kind of is. As in, like, there are some basic things that like we can do to make sure if we do have children, or we want to have children in the future, like I think, what kind of father would I want to be? And it's like, well, I want to be the type of father that would, you know, encourage my children to pursue their goals and dreams in life, and also lead by example. And like, when you know, what's the saying of, your children don't necessarily do what you tell them to do. They do as they see you act. Now, that's not a black and white set in stone rule, obviously, because oftentimes kids do what their parents tell them to do in many respects, and oftentimes many children don't behave like their parents because they don't like what their parents do, and they're like, no, I'm not going to behave like you, I don't want to do that, or I don't like, or their parents are like abusive or whatever, and they're like, I don't want to do that, or the parents are alcoholics and they're like, I'm not going to drink. So it's not a black and white rule, but the sentiment I'm expressing is, in general, like, it's like there is an element of truth to the fact that we like behave a lot of the times the way we see other people behave, and who the people we have, their genes, our parents, and who are we around in the environment growing up. Well, you can't not have some traits that are similar to our parents, like all of us do. Like every single one of my friends, every single person I've met male or female, has I'm see if I know their mother or father, I see like even like little things, like little attitudes they have about certain things and the way they think about certain things sometimes are kind of similar, but certainly like the way we move and talk and like little words, little things here and there, you know what I mean? It's like, but regardless of that, my point is, like, we do, like, oftentimes our children will do what they see us do. Like, so say, like, rather than saying, this guy called Elliot Hulse once used the example of, he remembers having like one of his friend, he used to go around to his friend's house, right, and his friend's mum and dad would be sitting reading, and not one time did they ever tell him to read. Now his dad, he never saw his dad reading, yet his dad would tell him to fucking read every day. Why aren't you reading? Reading's really good for you, reading. And then it was like, he never read when his dad told him to read. He never saw his dad fucking reading, right? And yet, every time he was around his parents, his mate's house, his friend's house, and he saw the mum and dad reading, after like 3 or 4 times going around, he sat there, picked up a book and started reading. And he used to read. Why? Because it's what he saw them doing, right? It's like lead by example. And it's like, I want to teach my kids like the importance of yoga, meditation from an early age, the importance of their own spirituality, their own consciousness, their psychology, how the human mind works from things I've studied, you know, and they'll see me learning about that. And then kids ask questions. Why did you do that, Dad? Why did you do that, Mum? Oh, because it's important, because this. Oh, cool. My dad seems to be having a good time doing this. It seems to be, right? Rather than the kind of authoritative approach that many teachers and or parents put on their kids. You need to do this, and you're bad if you don't do this. This is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't. Now, of course, like, this is a hard thing to navigate. Like, there's no black and white way of being a parent. I'm not disrespecting anyone's parenting skills or the way they raise their kids, but you know, the sentiment I'm trying to express, right? It's like, what kind of relationship do we want to have with our kids going forward? And like, I think to cut our life into these 8 sections, part of the parent-child relations section is consciously, if we don't even have children yet, thinking about what kind of children we want, what kind of relationship we want with our kids in the future, if we want kids. And also, to also think, do we want children if we're not currently, you know, parents? And when we do have children, like, what can we do? Like, sit down with them, teach them, spend time with them, send them the message without saying the words necessarily, that they are important, their opinion matters, right? Rather than the old school way of parenting that many parents do, is children to be seen and not heard. Their opinion doesn't matter, their feelings don't matter. Do what I say or else. Like, that's damaging to kids, right? And I'll go more into like parent-child relations when I study more about it, and I've like taken more time to think about it in different ways, like in the future. But for now, that's what I wanted to say about it. So let's get social. Well, our social life. What kind of who do we want to be spending our time with? Well, we want to be spending our time with people who deserve us in our life, that give us positive energy and encourage our goals and dreams and bond with. Don't want to be spending our time with people that drain our energy and constantly criticizing us and moaning all the fucking time. Now, of course, we can all be there for our friends, and sometimes they'll be down, and that is what friendship's about, right? Helping other people, like if they're down, if they're feeling down, and being there for them. And sometimes people are going to be a bit down or moaning and a bit. Like, I'm not talking about like that. Like once in a while, I'm talking about the people that like every time you spend time with them, the whole time they're bitching, the whole time about other people, the whole time they're criticizing people, like all the time, every minute of the day, they're criticizing you. Okay, you don't want to be around toxic people like that, right? And who do our friends and lovers and family and whoever we spend time with in our social life deserve to be around? Well, they deserve to be around the kind of person that we want them to be, if you know what I mean. Not and I say want them to be yourself. Like, don't try and change anyone in one respect, but you know what I mean. Like be the person that like is contributing to the positive energy and good times all the time, right? And here's another thing with going back to the idea of like sort of making life a lifestyle. Like we do in society, we do so many things like unconsciously. Like, so we go through life unconscious. Like, so say you're going and you're like, now I'm going to work and I fucking hate every minute of it. And now I really want to go and meet my friends and just zone out, whether that be drinking or whatever. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with drinking or wanting to unwind with your friends after a hard day at work. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like the idea is like if we're thinking of life more as like, this is really like consciously thinking, I am this time in my life, this section, let's get socializing with people, is like, this is a really important part of my life in this lifestyle that I'm making my life. Make life a lifestyle, right? It's like, it's not, I'm now going to numb myself and I'm going to be like all the time. Sure, like, as I say, unwind after a day at work or whatever. But then that leads into the idea of we should be doing something in life that we love and getting paid for it. And of course, we're still going to have up and downs here and there in life. That's inevitable. But my point, when I say we're going through life unconsciously, many of us, it's like the idea that, oh God, I'm now going and doing this thing, and now, I just want to now like go and I might socialize with people, and it might be good or it might be bad. It's like, take the time to find out who you are as well as a person, and meet like-minded people, and you will when you start to figure out who you are and what you are interested in and what type of personality you have and the things, and you're interested in like the things I'm talking about, like spirituality, creativity, consciousness, and talking about these things, you'll and yoga and meditation, etc. You'll gravitate naturally towards other people who are similarly interested in those things, and also the people who aren't interested in those things will naturally fall out of your life. And that doesn't mean you have to always speak about these things with every single person that you're friends with. I've got friends that aren't necessarily into the stuff I'm talking about here that I have a great time with, right? But you get my point, right? There's always an element of truth to any sentiment that someone expresses, and I'm just trying to like talk about these ideas. So what else? Move your body. Engage in exercise. You don't have to become a fitness freak. You don't have to become a bodybuilder or a marathon runner or whatever, or swim a million miles. And if that is what you're that way inclined, and you like to challenge yourself and you are into that stuff, fucking go for it. I know people that are like that, right? But my point is like, the idea is take exercise a bit seriously, man. Like, and I'm being a hypocrite here because sometimes I don't, but when I do, I feel so much better. Right, just like the idea that as I keep saying, the most profound truths are the simplest ones. The simplest truths are the most profound. And in the going back to the idea of making life a lifestyle, it's like when you exercise and you take it a bit seriously, and you think, I need to exercise now, and I'm consciously going to make myself exercise because it's going to now affect every other part of my life. It's like you feel so much better. And another thing is, which is true of thinking of life in this way in general, and it's true of taking responsibility when we take responsibility for all of the different aspects of our life. It's like we then have again, I don't know exactly what chemicals they are. I believe serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, etc., which will certainly come definitely from from exercise in general, but not just through exercise, but the idea of saying to ourselves psychologically, mentally, I'm now going to do some exercise for the reasons of I know it's going to make me feel really good while I'm doing it, and certainly when I finish, and even if it's a bit of a struggle, that's part of the exhilaration, and it's like the reward after of having done it. You just feel so much better, you feel so much more relaxed, you enjoy the rest of your day better, other people, you have better interactions with other people, you're better to be around, you're a more positive, energetic person, you haven't got all the stress and the game, the like primal, like egoic, racing thoughts as much, the anger inside you, that you might be having, the depression, your mind's all over the place. When you do exercise, it clears a lot of that, right? That's why exercise is so important. What else? Feeding our bodies with healthy, nutritious food. Do a bit. You don't need to become a professional nutritionist, or you can take it as far as you want to take it. Some people take it to the extent where they're really, really, really strict with their diet, and then other people, are somewhere on the other end of the spectrum. But when you go too far to the unnatural end and you eat whatever the fuck you want when you want, which I do sometimes, right, all the time, and you don't like take the time to like really have a clean meal and some water, it's like we are putting things in our body that aren't good for us, that are certainly going to affect our mood, our chemistry, our energy, our the way our brain works and stuff. And then when you know you're eating healthy food, healthy, nutritious, and not just healthy, nutritious, delicious food, right? It's a fucking joy to eat, and it's so good for us, and it affects us in a really healthy way, in the same way exercise does. It affects our mood, it affects our energy levels, it affects our brain chemistry, it affects our physiology, it affects how our muscles regrow, it affects our blood, it affects everything, it affects the way we sleep, it affects, these things are all inextricably linked. Relaxing our body. That's the next section of making life a lifestyle, life school, creating a life we love. Relaxing our body. What does that mean? It means engaging in activities that relax the body and the mind and our spiritual as well, like yoga, meditation. Right? Why is yoga so important? Yoga, yoga, the idea of breath being like a spirit, and even referring to breath as spirit, and the idea that our breath is like linked, and the way we breathe is linked to the rest of our body, our physiology and our mind and our emotions, is so simple yet so profound and so true. And when we do yoga, we're also physiologically working muscles, healing our body, stretching out tendons, like relaxing ourselves, and it just helps so much mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Meditation also, it calms the mind, it increases our attention span, it allows us to focus, it calms the body, it relaxes the body, all of our racing thoughts, anxiety go away, and if you do meditation every day, it's like you don't really get as anxious in the first place, or as depressed, or as angry, or as all over the place in your mind mentally, right? If you do brain scan, if you look at brain scans of before meditation, after meditation, or people who meditate and people who don't, it's like it's obvious the difference, right, in the parts of the brain that are lit up and the parts that aren't lit up. Meditation is so important, and on a deeper level, if you really go deep into meditation, you can have all kinds of epiphanies and visions even. And there are different forms of meditation, there are different forms of yoga, and we won't go into all the different forms in this podcast, but certainly incorporate some yoga and meditation into your life. What else? Get a massage if you want. Like, of course, that relieves and releases tension from the muscles, from the body, which is good for us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually too. engage in activity called bioenergetics if you can, if you want to. As I say, you don't have to do any of the things I'm talking about. I'm just someone giving some ideas that I know that either have helped me or can have helped other people, or both. And bioenergetics is basically a kind of active meditation, which is more like movement and exercise, and it's not really the same as meditation in the sense that it's not really, you don't sit down quietly and relax your mind and not move. It's actually the opposite. It's like you're throwing tantrums, you're getting anger out, you're shouting, you're screaming, you're laughing, you're crying, and the idea is to get unexpressed emotions from our childhood, teenage, and adulthood that were unexpressed, like when we didn't laugh because it wasn't socially acceptable, or our parents said, why are you angry right now? Or a school teacher said, sit down, or when we wanted to dance around, right? It's like we need to get that all gets trapped physiologically in the body, and it affects our posture, it affects our different ways our muscles work, it affects, all kinds of things. And I'll go more into that in other podcasts and other videos, but definitely research bioenergetics and get some of it in your life if you can. What else? Reiki is a great one. Reiki is like this form of healing. If you don't know, the specifics of it, the exact of it. I've never had it done myself. My mum has, and I know a few other people who have, and they say it really helped them. And I want to get some Reiki at some point and make it a part of my lifestyle. Shortly, in the not too distant future, maybe when lockdown's over officially, properly, and also when I get a bit more money together. Reiki is it's a form of healing where people, the Reiki person, the Reiki teacher or aficionado, whatever you call them, the qualified Reiki person, puts their hands on your body and releases like trapped emotion, mainly grief, I believe, and sadness, and you cry and it releases emotion from the body in a similar way to bioenergetics does. What else? Go in the sauna if you can, sweat out toxins from your body. And with relation to relaxing our body, take some time literally to relax. Just the idea of, sitting in a hammock or lying on a bed or chilling, right? And get a good night's sleep with the lights off. Why is it so important to have the lights off when we sleep? Well, because we have like 2 million-year-old brains, and whether you believe in evolution or not, but let's just go with that, right? That's a philosophical debate for another day. But the idea is like our tribal ancestors knew it was time to get up when the sun was up. There was no electricity, there were no electric lights, there were no computers or smartphones, there was not even a clock. There wasn't time in the same way there is today. But what there was the only source of light they had were the sun was the main source of light. Then there was the stars and the moon. Then there was fire, and that was literally it. That's all you had. So in the morning when the sun rose, right, human beings would get up, and at night when the campfire went out, all that's in the sky, if you're lucky, was a few stars, maybe a moon, but really the light's gone. The sun's gone, and our bodies have hormones in them. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but catabolic and anabolic. Catabolic and anabolic. I believe it's anabolic, and I can't remember if it's catabolic or canabolic or something like that. And I can't remember which way around they are, but basically, there are hormones our bodies produce, and one of the hormones is associated with actively yang, like being up, out, doing stuff, and it's related to when the sun comes up. Our body starts to produce that hormone. Oh, it's time to get up now and do this for the day. And when the sun starts going down, the other hormone, it's time to relax now. Stop, not be out doing stuff. Time to go to sleep. Now, when we leave a light on, or we have lights on in the hall outside of our bedroom or wherever we're sleeping, or we have our computer or our smartphone on, our body thinks that's the sun. And we start producing the hormone that's associated with being up, and that's why we don't get a good enough deep REM sleep. So it's very important to make sure, if we can sleep in complete pitch black darkness, right? And then we get a deep, good night's sleep, and that we need to heal. What else? Feeding our mind with a bunch of things. Earlier I talked about unconventional wisdom, a bunch of positive beliefs. Always be learn stuff, like listen to podcasts, books, watch YouTube videos, read Instagram posts, just learn things about your own, about human behavior, about socializing, about human psychology, emotions, spirituality. Learn what you want. And even if you don't want to learn all that stuff, although I would recommend you definitely do, because it will massively help you in life, learn things you're interested in and expand your mind, exercise your mind, stretch your mind to be learning, right? New things and interesting things, don't just let it atrophy. Like in the same way that you when we work out our muscles at the gym, we also need to exercise our mind, and then section 8, motivation. Right? If we start a life from scratch, no one will be working a job they don't like. Now, if you are currently working a job you don't like and you have to pay bills and rent and you're stuck in that situation, I totally get it. What can you do? Well, in your free time, start working on things that something you're passionate about that you really enjoy, or a number of things that you're passionate about but you really enjoy, but one thing, and figure out a way to make money from it. And, while you're working on that job, save up enough money for like 3 months or 6 months so that the bills and rent or whatever you need, your expenses are covered, so then you can quit your job. And then during that time, work on that and work out how to get enough money for the next 3 months from doing what you love, right? Fill your life with what you love. And any activities that you need to get done that you're not very good at, or that really drain you, if you have like enough people around you that will either do it for free, or if you have a bit of money to pay some staff, you have a team of people, like delegate your tasks. Or if it's with you're doing something with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your significant other, or your family or your friends, and they like kind of are part of your whatever activity that you love, ask them, can you do this please, because I really struggle with this and you're better at this than me, or I don't like this, or it really drains me. But the main kind of motivation that you want in life and that will be good for you psychologically is engaging in activity you're really fucking passionate about. And then recognize that money is just simply a tool that we need for resources and services. It's not like some thing that we should for the rest of our lives like pursue because we need it, and the activity we're going to pursue doing that is going to be something we fucking hate. Like that, and that's the way many of us have been indoctrinated by our parents in school, and it's like that's not cool, because then you just end up living a life you hate and sacrificing your joy and your happiness and your life essentially for money. So yeah. So just to sum up this podcast, there's 6 human needs. The human need for 6 main human needs. Obviously, we have more than 6, I guess, and we all have our own unique needs and stuff, depending on our personality and our whatever, right? But the 6 main human needs are the need for certainty, the need for variety, the need for significance, the need for love and connection, the need for growth, and the need for contribution. Now, if we do all these things, engage in all these activities, we'll be meeting those 6 human needs in a consciously in a healthy way, right? Which is great. And we will be, as I say, healing from the past when we engage in these activities, learning to enjoy the present, and creating a future we love, which will then be the present, which we then will enjoy when it comes around. And I say there are 7, and we'll be honouring the 4 facets of what it is to be a human: the physical, the intellectual, the emotional, the spiritual, in a healthy way, and getting in touch with all those aspects of ourselves, and making our life based around those 4 facets of what it is and aspects of what it is to be a human being. And I say there are 7 steps to fulfillment, and if we make life a lifestyle in this way, we will be engaging in these 7 steps to fulfillment. What are these 7 steps to fulfillment? In no particular order: understanding how to be happy, both in theory and in practice experience; taking an honest look at our relationships, and then, of course, like by that I mean looking at what kind of relationships we have with ourselves and we have with our parents and our family growing up and what we have now, and cultivating friendships and romantic relationships and that are positive and that help us grow and live a happy life, encouraging each other, etc., rather than looking at relationships with people that are negative or either because of our own behavior or their behavior or whatever, and also creating a better relationship with ourselves. Step 3, move, feed, relax your body. Yes, the things I said before. Feeding our mind. Yes, filling our life with what we love by engaging in activity in the motivation section of making life a lifestyle, life school, and then learning how to create money from it. 6, embracing the fact that humans are tribal, right? Which is, which means, yes, we need other people and we need to have positive interactions with other people, and we need other people. Maybe we need, as I said earlier, older male role models or female role models and mentors and people in our life. We need other people to help us with certain things that aren't our strong suit. Engaging in exercise with others, engaging in healthy eating and sharing with others, and maybe even yoga and meditation with others. And you can do some of these things on your own, some of these things with other people, whatever you want. You have to figure it out yourself. Everyone's different. But the point is embracing the fact that humans are tribal. And also part of that is also getting in touch with certain kind of aspects of tribal living, like going out into nature and camping and getting, having a campfire or whatever. And the 7th step is making life a lifestyle, which is what this whole thing is about. So I hope this podcast has been entertaining, inspirational, and helpful and interesting. And yeah, till next time on the Conor Canney podcast. Take care. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you enjoy this and you'd like to hear more podcasts. Bye-bye. Have a great day and a great week.